For generations, we've been told there is a way to get stronger.
If you combine good diet plan with good workout, you can get really good results.
And for many, that formula has often centered around animal protein. But are there other paths to the same result? Especially now, when our food choices carry wider implications. Coming up, we hear from athletes who swear by meat.
Plant-based protein, it causes digestion problem.
And from those proving you can get those gains without it.
Eating a lot of meat, basically, and that will build muscle, but it will also make you unhealthy.
And as those arguments go back and forth, are we choosing what's best for our bodies or thinking about the bigger picture?
We're seeing a bit more of a kind of flexitarian trend.
Just 2 degrees is on. Now,
is meat absolutely necessary to build muscle and get stronger?
Yes.
That's simply not the case.
Quando ti guardo io non resisto ai tuoi occhi così blu. Tu non mi guardi, io non resisto e continuo a cadere giù.
Pizza. It's one of the most eaten foods on the planet. Some estimates suggest people eat more than 5 billion pizzas a year. They're found everywhere, from street corners to supermarket freezers.
It's very hard to say no to pizza in Italy.
I had a pizza margherita yesterday, mixed with a steak, and I actually put some prosciutto on it. It tasted amazing.
But pizza didn't start as a global obsession. It began on the streets of Naples, a simple food for working people, made from whatever was available. And a single slice actually tells a much bigger story. Wheat, first cultivated more than 10,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent, a region spanning parts of today's Middle East. Milk from domesticated animals and turned into cheese. Tomatoes, completely unknown in Europe until the 16th century, brought from the Americas through colonial Spanish trade.
What we eat today is rarely just about food. It's the result of thousands of years of experimentation, tradition, power even, people eating what they could grow, trade, preserve, just afford. Long before food became an industry, before labels, lobbies, or diet tribes, humans were simply trying to survive. And to understand why we argue so much today about meat, milk, and plants, we first need to understand our long and very complicated relationship with food.
When we talk about food now, we often argue as if humans were always meant to eat one specific way: meat or plants, milk or no milk, 3 meals a day. But for most of human history, none of that existed. For hundreds of thousands of years, early humans were opportunistic eaters. Hunter-gatherers survived on whatever their environment offered: fruits, roots, nuts, insects, fish or meat, changing with the seasons and the land. The Hadza people in East Africa still eat differently from month to month. In the Arctic, Inuit diets historically relied heavily on animal fat and fish. In tropical forests, communities depended far more on plants and wild fruits. There was no fixed diet. Survival depended on flexibility. What people ate wasn't ideology, it was geography. Around 10,000 years ago, agriculture changed everything. Farming allowed humans to settle, but it also narrowed diets. Instead of wide variety, many societies began relying on a few staple crops: wheat, rice, maize, legumes, and later domesticated animals. Food became more predictable, but often less diverse. In some regions, dairy pushed diets even further. Between 5,000 and 8,000 years ago, certain populations developed the ability to digest milk into adulthood, a rare case where culture actually reshaped human genetics. And much later, in just the last 150 years, industrialization transformed food again. Processing, preservation, and mass production didn't just change what we eat, but how. Packaged foods, regular meals, food as a global industry, scientists agree on one thing: humans didn't evolve for a single ideal diet. We evolved to adapt again and again to whatever food system surrounded us. So that slice of pizza, it's not just simple comfort food. It's thousands of years of food history on a plate and carries the story of how humans learned to eat, to trade, and survive.
So these days, food is no longer just about survival or tradition. It's one of the biggest industries on earth, with trillions of dollars, with supply chains and trade routes linking almost every corner of the planet.
And much of what we eat is shaped by a relatively small group of powerful corporations. Companies like Nestle, Cargill, Tyson Foods, and Danone influence what's produced, how it's processed, and how it's marketed long before it reaches our plate. One of the clearest examples is dairy. In the 1990s, the Got Milk campaign, backed by the California Fluid Milk Processor Advisory Board, helped turn milk into a cultural necessity, linking it to human strength, health, and even celebrity.
Drink this. It's working! Keep drinking!
The campaign did a lot more than sell milk. It also shaped how generations understood what a normal diet looked like. So when today's food debates become polarized, meat versus plants and milk versus alternatives, it's worth asking whether these arguments are really just about personal choice or whether they're being amplified by industries with a lot at stake.
That body. Get working. That body. Get working.
And one place where these debates often play out is the gym. Here, athletes and bodybuilders are divided over what kind of diet really supports strength, recovery and muscle growth, and what doesn't.
Hoş geldin.
Hocam merhaba, nasılsın?
Merhaba, iyiyim. Sen nasılsın?
Ben de iyiyim, teşekkürler. Hazırım.
Hadi gidelim. Stable your elbow. Yeah, always stable your elbow. Do not raise your shoulder. Yeah.
How long have you been a bodybuilder?
I've been working 10 years from now.
10 years now.
But
wow.
if you ask the competitor side of this job,
Yeah.
just last 3 years, I'm competing in Turkey. Maybe next year I will compete in the world.
Really?
I wish, in the world, yeah.
What would you say are the most important things for a bodybuilder to build strength and muscle? I would think maybe diet.
Of course, diet and workout plan. Both of them is important. But if you combine the good diet plan with good workout, you can get really good results.
And does it take long to build muscle and strength?
Meat-based training or?
Yeah, meat-based. If you're eating meat, how long does it take to see results?
For example, the meats include like creatine, but that's okay. You can bring
My
this.
turn?
Yeah, my turn.
Yeah.
Meats include creatinine, also lots of vitamins with B12. Plants doesn't include B12 vitamin. Also, you can, for example, if you want to take 30 grams of protein, you can eat like 100 grams of meat, that's enough. But if you think about the plant-based protein, you need to eat 200 or 300 grams of protein. So it causes digestion problem.
So plant protein causes digestion problems based on your research, yeah?
Yes, exactly. Because you need to take some protein in a day. For example, if you are 70 kilo, you need to take, just an example, 140 grams of protein for building muscle.
Yeah.
But if you want to take like plant-based proteins, you need to eat much more than meat.
Okay.
So that's why.
So it's harder to put on muscle if you're using plant protein.
Exactly. Also, plant proteins doesn't include creatine, also some essential amino acids. They include essential amino acids, but less amount them. For example, the important amino acid is leucine, which is started the protein synthesis of the muscle. Plants doesn't have enough leucine.
Okay, but what about health? Which one would you say is healthier? A meat-based diet or a vegan diet?
I cannot choose one. We can combine each other. Like if you have a meat-based nutrition plan, you can combine with plants. Think about eating salads every meal. Like you are gonna eat meat, but little bit salads you can add. Because of it increases the protein synthesis of the meal. Salads has micronutrients. Meat has cholesterol. Cholesterol, which means testosterone synthesized from cholesterol in our body. Also, testosterone makes as strong, and it's important hormone for muscle building.
You know, a lot of vegans talk about, you know, you can have a plant-based diet if you're building muscle or trying to get stronger, but you can just take supplements. You know, those missing amino acids you talk about. Would you recommend a plant-based diet plus supplements?
Not all the supplements are good, but it's not effective like food. Real food is important. When you compare to supplements and real food always we can choose. It's more natural and builds muscle more. I mean, the quality, muscle quality is higher actually when you eat real food instead of supplements.
Okay, so just to be clear, is meat absolutely necessary to build muscle and get stronger?
Yes, because of the creatinine. In the meat, you can take your body to creatine, which is building muscle and building strength. Creatine has a high metabolism of producing energy in our muscles. So that's why you can lift heavy weights if you eat meat in your diet plan. So that's why it is necessary.
What do you say to people like vegans who say eating meat isn't like ethical? It hurts the animals. I mean, a lot of people talk about meat eating being cultural, and we've been eating meat for centuries.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't even afford a vegan diet. Some people argue that as well. There's so many arguments as to why everyone can't do the same thing at the same time.
Of course, it's a little bit cultural. For example, I'm living in Turkey. Eating meat is more cultural. We are not adapt to eating vegan foods. So that's why it's our culture. Yeah.
So we've heard one side of the argument that meat plays a key role in strength and performance, but that's not the only path athletes and bodybuilders take. That brings us to Patrick Babumian, a former professional strongman who's competed without eating meat and still argues that a plant-based diet can deliver power and results. Patrick, you've competed at the highest levels of strength sport without eating meat. What's the biggest misconception people still have about vegan athletes?
So I think the biggest misconception really is that many people, especially people in the fitness industry in general and in strength sports in particular, think that eating meat is like a necessary condition. Like you have to eat meat to be able to succeed in strength sports and in your fitness goals, like bodybuilders and so on. That's simply not the case. And I know that firsthand because I've been vegetarian for 6 years. I am now vegan for almost 15 years. At the end of this year, it will be my 15th year. I haven't eaten meat for a very long time. In the last almost 15 years, I haven't had any animal products at all. And because I've been a competitive athlete throughout that transition from eating meat, then being vegetarian, and then going vegan, I have like data basically showing that. So to make it really quick and easy, I was the strongest I ever was in 2016, which is 5 years after going vegan. And so that wouldn't be possible. Like if you would need animal protein, or if you would need meat to succeed, at getting stronger and getting building muscle, it would just simply be impossible to go completely vegan, not have any animal protein at all, and still improve your strength.
Do you agree with any part of the claim that meat is essential for strength and muscle?
Yeah, so I would not agree that it is essential, because being essential means that that you need it, right? That you wouldn't be able to build muscle or adequately give your body everything it needs to build muscle without meat. I know that that's not true because I've done it, right? So the proof is in the pudding. I've done it without meat. I've done it without any animal protein, and I know that it works. So it is definitely not essential. Is it effective? Yes. So you can use like you can have a lifestyle that builds on heavy eating a lot of meat, basically, and that will build muscle, but it will also make you unhealthy. And that's really the problem, right? So it is effective, but it is not essential.
Can you give like 3 or 5 really good plant-based products that will match or surpass eggs, chicken, and beef?
Yes. So if you're looking for one specific product that is basically able to replace any of those things, it is soy. Like soy protein is basically the holy grail of plant proteins. Now there is a lot of misconceptions around soy as well, like the phytoestrogens that it contains are like a big concern for a lot of people, which is kind of funny because phytoestrogens are not animal estrogens, right? So you have the word estrogen in them, which a lot of fitness enthusiasts then associate with the estrogens that we have in our body. But a phytoestrogen is like its molecular structure is similar to our estrogen, but it is not the same. So it does not do the same thing in our body. Actually, it does in a lot of cases the opposite of what estrogens in our body do. So because it is similar, it can actually go to your estrogen receptor and actually block the receptor, which gives it some anti-estrogenic properties, which is exactly like one of the things that as a bodybuilder you want.
So a lot of people talk about not necessarily having the biology to switch to a vegan diet. Are you an exception, someone who can simply do it?
Yes, absolutely. So I don't think I'm an exception at all. You don't even have to look far. If you look into India, for instance, you actually have big entirely vegan communities. You have obviously big vegetarian communities. And so the reason that it sounds to us like it's something exotic and somehow like hard to wrap your head around is just because we're culturally just programmed to think that meat eating is just something normal and it's something necessary for our body. But if you just break it down to the biology and you look at our digestive system and you compare us to a meat-eating animal and then you compare us, our digestive system, to a plant-eating animal, you find out that we have way more in common with the plant eaters than we have with the meat eaters. And so, yeah, we are basically omnivores, so we can eat everything. We can eat meat, we can eat plants, and that is one of the reasons that that we are so successful as a species, because that makes us adaptable. But that does not mean that we have to eat meat. Like if that was the case, our body should look like the body of a lion. And that is simply not the case. If you don't see that, you have to really go to the bathroom, take a look in the mirror. You're not going to see a cat in the mirror. You're going to see, our anatomy is very, similar to other big primates. And most of them eat mainly, plants. And then sometimes they will eat meat, but that is usually just an adaptation because for some reason, like, it has to do with the abundance of certain foods in your environment and so on.
Okay, it's time for Just to Matter, where we break down big climate questions into the simple details of actual importance. Today, the climate cost of what we eat, beef, chicken, and plant protein, in numbers you can understand and feel.
Producing 1 kilogram of beef generates roughly 60 kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions. That's about the same as driving a car 150 kilometers. In comparison, 1 kilogram of chicken produces around 6 to 7 kilos of CO2 equivalent emissions, nearly 10 times less than beef. And plant proteins, like beans and tofu, typically sit around 1 to 2 kilogram CO2 equivalent, up to 60 times lower than beef. To produce 1 kilogram of beef, you need roughly 15 times more land than to produce the same weight in beans. Beef's land footprint is huge because pasture and feed crops take up space that was once forest or wild habitat. The land used means fewer trees and soil storing carbon. Producing 1 kilo of beef can require up to 15,000 liters of water, like leaving a shower running for 6 months straight. Chicken requires roughly 4,000 litres per kilogram. Beans and pulses often need 1,000 litres or less per kilo. When it comes to food efficiency, cows consume a lot of calories, but only a small portion of that energy ends up as meat we can eat. Chickens are more efficient, converting more of what they eat into edible protein, and when we eat plants directly, far less water, land, and energy are needed to put food on our plates. And then there is waste. Roughly a third of all food produced is wasted, but 1 kilogram of wasted beef represents far more emissions than vegetables because of all the land, water, feed, and methane involved. In terms of nutrients delivered, many plant proteins deliver similar protein, but with a fraction of the climate cost, highlighting that different foods carry very different environmental weights.
Of course, food choices don't exist in a vacuum. For many people, access and price matter far more than ideology.
Healthy food isn't equally available across the world, and ethical options often cost more. We can't forget farmers, the backbone of agriculture. For them, they have to consider their livelihoods and survival in what's clearly a changing system.
Genau, wir haben selber einen Betrieb mit 60 Rindern und uns geht es einfach jetzt sowieso als Tierhalter schon nicht gut.
After all the debate, meat versus plants and protein versus performance, one thing becomes clear. Food choices are shaped by many things, including belief and identity. Across Europe, many consumers are questioning what's in their food, from ultra-processed ingredients to pesticide use, and how transparent supply chains really are. And despite rising food prices, many shoppers appear to be putting their money where their mouth is.
One company that says it's seeing that shift is Ecotone, which owns brands like Clipper Teas and Carlo. In 2025, the group reported strong growth across several European markets, driven by demand for organic and ethically produced food, even during a cost of living squeeze. I called up Brian Martins to find out what he believes is driving the change. Brian, there's a lot of noise around food, meat, plants, ultra-processed products. What are you actually seeing shoppers worry about most right now?
Well, a great question. Well, in the UK, shopping baskets are at their healthiest for the last 5 years, which effectively means that shoppers are now choosing less foods that have high fat, salt, and sugar. And that's great news for a company like us, who obviously offer organic and plant-based foods. And what we're seeing is consumers are looking at ingredients lists far more. They're wanting to know where their food is sourced from. They're wanting to, when they're looking at ingredients lists, be able to pronounce the names that are on their ingredients list.
A lot of viewers hear organic and think it's just clever marketing. What would you say to someone who's genuinely skeptical?
I think organic, more and more, what we're seeing and what our customers are telling us, more and more consumers are seeing organic as great value for money. And as I said, are appreciating that organic, particularly, with our products, we certify organic, and you have to go through an independent certification process. And that's, very robust in terms of the farming methods that are required in organic.
Organic food is often seen as a luxury to some. During a cost of living crisis, as we mentioned earlier, why do you think people are still choosing it?
Yeah, I think, more and more people are seeing organic as good value for money. Again, as a luxury, it very depends. You can be very smart in terms of choosing organic food. You can find very affordable solutions to choose organic in your everyday shopping.
So we've heard strong views from both vegan and meat-eating athletes on this episode. From your perspective, are consumers really choosing sides?
What we are seeing is that there's more a flexitarian lifestyle, and that consumers are. There's definitely a trend where animal-based products, like consumption, has declined over the last few years, and more people are choosing a more kind of vegan or plant-based diet. But it's not normally one or the other. You obviously have a section of consumers that are doing one or the other and making that choice, but a lot of the mainstream are just choosing to eat a little bit less meat, a little bit less fish, maybe a little bit less milk, a little bit less butter, etc., and choosing more veggies in their diet. And the reason they're doing that is they're obviously seeing the health benefits of doing that, in that also the affordability sometimes, because sometimes like meat, etc., can be more expensive than maybe carrots or vegetables, but also that they're realizing that, you know, animal agriculture can have a big impact on the planet, and they're wanting to do their bit. So for us, we're seeing a bit more of a kind of flexitarian trend than people really choosing sides.
And that's our show. The food debate can be loud and divided sometimes, although for many of us, we simply buy what we can afford and what makes us, I don't know, feel good. But today, we've also got to consider the planet. Helping it doesn't mean everyone has to eat the same way, but it does mean rethinking our habits a little or even a lot, and being more conscious of what ends up on our plates. Until next time, bye.